welcome to the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick.
My name is Ian. I don't know.
What was that?
What it was me saying my name.
My name is Nick.
What the fuck ever.
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Mm-hmm.
As always, you can email any question or comments.
Did you say what show it was?
Huh?
Did you say this is Life in General?
I did.
Okay. I guess you would have said that before we said our name.
Yeah. We've done this like over 100 times, Ian.
That's fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ian is apparently still trying to get used to how we record after 3 years of doing it.
Just get to the announcements.
The announcements?
Yes, the announcements where you announce where we're at, where people can find us.
Where can people find us, Ian?
On the interwebs thingy.
Questions
Podbean.
No.
Apple Music.
Hold on, I haven't gotten that far yet.
Oh.
Questions or comments can be emailed to, what is it?
Life in General Podcast?
No, contact at Life in General Podcast.
Whatever. Contact at Life in General Podcast.
We're on Facebook. Where are we at on Twitter? Where can they find us on Twitter? At
Life in General Pod?
No, close.
Podcast Life in General?
At LIG Pod.
Yes. League Pod.
League Pod.
Hey, I'll probably remember it better by saying that for the record. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's League Pod then.
League Pod, yeah. I'll probably remember that.
And the show's on where? The show's on Podbean. It's on YouTube. Find us on our YouTube channel.
Yes. Apple Podcast.
Apple Podcast. Go ahead and follow us on Spotify. Yeah. Leave us a 5-star review on
6 star, 6 star,
iTunes.
6 star.
You're a Satan worshiper.
I don't worship Satan because I don't believe in Satan.
But
he did have some pretty good ideas.
Yeah, we're on iHeartRadio. What the hell? You dumbass.
I don't worship Satan. I just like a lot of the music. I like a lot of his music.
Speaking of music,
yeah, little segue there.
That was a really bad segue.
It was a Nick segue.
Were you trying to segue?
No, it was accidental. That's why it was a Nick segue.
Oh, okay. Well, no, mine are just intentionally poor.
Oh, well.
I find it very funny to have really poor segues.
Yeah, well,
the ones you crash on without.
Well, I fucking crashed and burned on that one.
So we had a music topic,
but we've put that back a month,
and then I made the executive decision to pull a fast one on Ian.
Yeah. After, by the way, I actually was doing research for this one.
But he wasn't doing notes. No.
Well, I was at work and I was researching articles.
At work?
Yeah, you were sitting there watching me.
How dare you?
Well, hey. You're the one who should be in a position of authority.
But I'm not.
But you're not.
Asshole. So what kind of got me thinking was, the Grammys are coming up. Do you know exactly when that is?
It's usually, I think, was it the first or second weekend of February? Is that the last weekend of February?
Or is it in March?
I don't think it's in March. But I don't know. I really don't this time.
They are... January 26th.
Wow.
So they're not in February or March.
So we were both fucking wrong.
We're both fucking
Why
wrong.
are you listening to us? We don't know shit.
So anyway, the Grammys are coming up. So I kind of was going over the list of nominations, and and every year there's like artists that get snubbed.
Oh yeah.
But it kind of it seems every year it seems like more and more like big names, established artists seem to be getting pushed further and further outside of the mainstream. So I was thinking, is this, or how much is it a concerted effort by the music industry to, I don't want us to retard what people listen to because I hate that fucking word, but
using it in that way isn't the same as using it the way that you don't like it.
How much is it in what way are they trying to manipulate the industry?
Well, if you would have asked me this question, when you brought this topic up, I said, well, of course they are. They always have. But I guess it's to the question is to what extent.
Yeah.
But they always have, because I don't know if you knew this, but and it's not as big of an issue now, but analog radio, like over-the-air radio, I forgot what they call that. But,
Yeah.
Your traditional radio stations have a set amount of songs that they are allowed to license and have in rotation at any given time. If you're a station that plays top 40s, which means you're playing, over, say, a 40-year period of music, you still have a set amount of songs you can have in your general rotation. Mm-hmm. And this was information I got from a former DJ that I knew. Their station was connected. It was affiliated with one of the big ones, Clear Channel or whatever.
Okay.
But Clear Channel and all those different main conglomerates have to adhere to these rules. If you're a station that plays new hits, that doesn't change. So you're still only set so many songs in your rotation for, say, a month or a 6-month period. If you're playing new music, it's only going to be a month period generally, which is why a song will be a hit for a while and then it just disappears. You never hear it again. And there's some cases where some songs will stay in the rotation for 6 months, 7 months, but it's always the same artists. There's a rotation of songs, but not a big rotation on the artists in those, unless there's a song. And it's a lot of it, from what he was saying, was starting to become dictated by like iTunes sales and stuff like that.
Well, the other thing is, even if a song is poor quality, and I won't say poor quality like musically, but if a not really great song,
right? Like
some kind of like generic, crappy pop song,
right? Basically everything that's come on last 5 years.
If they keep playing the same song over and over again, eventually people are going to like it,
right?
I mean, it's just the way it works.
But see, this is where the manipulation part comes in, though. When you're dealing with those stations that are dealing with new music, how many times a song is played in the rotation dictates its like value.
Yeah.
So if it's played twice an hour, which some songs do get that kind of,
I've heard it.
They get those. That song is going to have a higher Billboard rating, or a rating in those charts in the charts. Whether or not it's accurate to the quality of the music or the song or anything else, if it's wherever it's at in the rotation and how many times it's played in the rotation is what's going to dictate how it charts. And then you get, number one single. Well, of course it's a number one single.
Because you're playing.
Because Clear Channel, which owns radio stations across the country,
are
playing it twice an hour.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I guess I look at it this way. So you get 90% of what Americans read, watch, and listen to is controlled by 6 media companies. 6 companies. You got about 240 media executives responsible for the intake of 227 million Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Less than 250 people are determining what we want and what is popular.
Well, at least what's available to consume, whether or not people like it or not. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. It's the same for almost everything.
But not only do these people decide what music is popular, but in the way that it's promoted, but they also own the magazines and websites, so they're able to either make or break a career,
right,
within their own company.
Well, of course,
and for years the music industry has watered down
all of its stuff.
Yeah, and kind of molded what's popular to make music more palatable, I guess, if you want to say, to the masses.
Right. But see, they always have. They've done it with. I mean, now it's just watering
have
it
they
down.
Always?
Yes. Think about this.
I wouldn't say always.
No. Take this for example. In the 1950s, what was rock and roll? It was watered down blues. It was white people version. It was a watered down white person version of the blues, of black music, of black American music.
But there was quality there, though.
Well, of course there was. Yeah, of course.
But that's what I'm saying. Though,
But that's what it was.
Music has lost quality.
Well, yeah, I think that has
at least what popular music has lost quality.
True, because and I've pointed this out to other people. if you think about this, I think I even said this to your wife, maybe even on the show at one point. If you look at pop music, say up until around the late 90s, squeezing into the early 2000s, even if it was pop and just kind of generic pop, it was good. At least for the most part. It would have a nice hook to it. There was some quality to it.
There was something to
it. The 80s, I think, was the best era for like acceptable, tolerable, good pop music. Where, and there was kind of some crossover where some bands who wouldn't necessarily be considered pop had pop hits.
Yeah.
And artists who were nothing but pop could have like the occasional experimental album. So it was good. There was the actual artists were writing their own music then still.
That's definitely changed.
But now pop is so utterly disposable.
That, and the other thing that pop music is doing, and it has done, it's largely been cannibalizing other genres of music.
Well, I mean, that's always been the case, again. Cannibalizing blues, jazz.
But what I'm saying, though, is it's cannibalized
rock. Cannibalizing, right.
It's cannibalizing rap music. It's cannibalizing everything else, and kind of just, I guess, look no further than what were the big music collaborations last year?
You're asking the wrong person.
Well, we were just talking about one of them before we started recording.
Ozzy and Post Malone.
Ozzy and Post Malone. Lil Nas X and Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah.
There's just a number of them, of these.
But see, you go back to like 85 with Walk This Way, Run DMC and Aerosmith.
Yeah, but there was still a discernible genre of music there.
Right. Well, where would that fall? Where the Run DMC version of Walk This Way, is that going to fall into rap or is that going to fall into rock?
I mean, it depends on which side of the aisle you're on.
Right.
It can be both, but it seems like pop music is taking the rock elements and rap elements and elements of country with who's the other one? Kane Brown, who's a country artist, and there's another pop artist. They had a big hit last year also. And it's just kind of taking all these different genres and kind of blending them into pop music. And I feel like you're seeing pop, and I guess pop music has always kind of been a big genre.
Right.
But I think you're seeing it really kind of kill rap rock. If you look at all the big awards in the Grammys this year,
right,
it's the first time that I can think of where there isn't really any rap or rock artists in the big categories. Right. It's all pop music.
Look at it this way,
and it's not good pop music.
No,
either.
It's not. But look at it this way. Go back, because the beginning of pop music, really, at least to the extent that we're talking about, goes back to, say, the mid 50s, right? Mid to late 50s, the Elvis, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, that kind of stuff, the Big Bopper. Go back to that time, and rock music, which is what it was, even though it was pop, it was still rock, was considered, devil music. It was like the end of Western civilization as far as the mainstream goes.
Especially when it came to Elvis.
Right. So take that into account, and then look, say, 30 years later, at a time in the 50s where it was underground, or it was unacceptable to a degree. It was accessible and there, and the kids loved it, but the parents didn't. It wouldn't be mainstream. Jump ahead to the 80s or 90s, and you've got heavy metal rock tunes in fucking kids commercials.
Yeah.
It's which I guess is a natural progression, but the problem is, but that's that was kind of like the beginning. Now you can have an artist who, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example from the 80s. Well, like, take Wham, for example.
Okay.
Pre-George.
I don't want to take Wham, but okay.
They have two good songs. They do. I like two of their songs.
I think the David Spade version of one of their songs is a lot funnier.
And it's funny because that's one of the songs I actually like of theirs.
I can't hear it
without thinking. I know I have a hard time too, but I still like the song. But take Wham. Their music is very pop. And this is even George Michael was even different than initial Wham. Kind of pop, generic, very synthesized. Not a lot of instrumentation going on there. It would be like them having songs with a heavy metal guitar riff in it. But not their whole album, just a song. It'd be like Wham featuring Metallica. It wouldn't have happened back then. But now it's happening now because it's all so homogenized that it doesn't matter. Because it's all just going to sell.
And that's kind of what I'm getting to is how long has this been? I guess not really how long because it's been going on for a while. But what's to really be done about the way that music is watered down and genres are kind of killed at the altar of money?
Well, I guess you have to look at it from two different perspectives. One is, yes, it's just money, and it's all about who can we sell? Who can we put out there? What song can we get in the rotation 2 times an hour so that we sell, X amount of million copies of this, either track on iTunes or, possibly vinyl records. Who's to say? I don't think pop music is really a strong mainstay in vinyl yet.
Yeah.
But, it's starting to be. Taylor Swift's album, and she might be the exception to what we're talking about. But the funny thing is,
Taylor Swift, she didn't get nominated for anything for the Grammys. But
This year. So, beyond that.
But her album was released before the cutoff. So, it's not even eligible for next year.
Okay, well, here's the thing. She's had her day in the sun. She was named the biggest artist of the teens. Taylor Swift was named the biggest artist of the teens. She's had her day in the sun, and now she wants to focus on acting.
But that excuses her not getting nominated for anything?
No, it doesn't excuse anything, Nick. It just says the record label, the executives, the people who you said potentially are manipulating.
What I'm saying. That's the problem, though. That's the problem.
I'm not saying this is a good thing. But she's moving forward. It's kind of like the Will Smith thing. He's doing his acting thing. We don't need to focus on him. Let's get this other artist that we can milk. We can give him a record deal, give him $1 million, and we'll make $10 million on their fucking music. We'll own it forever.
You got a guy. But here's the other thing: is there ageism? Is that kind of go into it also? Because you look at artists like Bruce Springsteen, which, granted, I haven't listened to the album,
right?
But from all the reviews and everything I've read about it, it's a fantastic, one of the top albums of 2019. 0 nominations for the Grammys.
Right. Well, and I guess that depends because we are looking at now 2020. Black Sabbath won the Grammy in 2013. And those were 60-some-year-old guys at the time.
That was a long time ago.
2013 was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I know in the world of music that's a long time. It's not really a long time.
That's a generation ago in the music industry.
Well, fair enough. I don't know. It feels like everything, again, kind of going to what you're saying, everything's so just thrown together. It's hard to even distinguish. You can listen to a song from the 80s and go, that's from the 80s. You can listen to a song from the 70s and go, that's from the 70s. Even if it's a timeless song that kind of transcends where it was made, you can still tell when it was made.
I guess
even the 90s.
I guess you can with this music too,
because it's garbage.
Because it's shit. So
yeah, you can say, well, that sounds like shit. So it was probably from
the 2010s,
20-teens, yeah, teens. I say
teens, whatever.
Yeah.
I guess it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah. Either way, I don't know, but to be fair, Sabbath did win. Ageism has always been an issue too, because if you look at the Grammys and stuff from the late 90s, mid to late 90s, if there was an older artist on there, they were usually just doing a comeback performance.
Yeah, that's true.
Or getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, or some type of thing like that.
Here, let's play a little game, Ian.
Oh, yeah. I like games.
Can you name any of the top 3 people with the most nominations for the Grammys this year?
Well, I to be fair, I think I saw a couple names.
Oh, did you?
Right before I closed my phone. Lizzo, okay.
Yeah, she got 8. With
Billie Eilish.
Which look.
I'm not digging her shit at all. I was open-minded to it because I was thinking, okay, fresh young mind, kind of a new, different thing going on there.
She's been dubbed what I say, whisper rock.
Whisper rock, and I've heard several songs on that so suits what she is, and I don't get it. I'm not getting it, and I don't think it's an age thing because I was very open-minded to her. But I'm just really not. I'm not getting it.
Yeah, because I'm the kind of person that I try to find newer stuff. I try to find different things. I like,
and I'm even open to pop. If you can come up with a pop artist that they're not going to be my favorite. There's a handful of really good Madonna songs I like.
Yeah,
not my genre, but in the '80s she had some good songs. Cyndi Lauper, same thing.
I have both of Billie Eilish's albums because my daughter bought them. But, and it just, I've tried.
Yeah, I tried to give her a chance.
It just isn't good.
No. And
I feel bad for
the generation that's being told that it is good.
Yes, exactly.
The standards.
Lil Nas X was the other one.
Was the other, okay. I was actually going to say Post Malone, but because I know his album did quite well.
It did. But he's up for Album of the Year, I think.
Okay.
Record of the Year.
Fair enough.
Along with Bon Iver.
Which I've never listened to Bon Iver.
Billie Eilish, Ariana Grande, Her, whatever the fuck Her is. Lizzo, Lil Nas X, and
I've not heard any of their music other than Billie Eilish.
Post Malone's nominated for Sunflower, which is at least a good song, I guess.
I haven't listened to it.
That was the song that was on the Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay, yeah, I haven't listened to it. And I still haven't listened to the song that he did with Ozzy yet. Which I heard was pretty good, too.
No, that is a good song.
Is it? I want to see the performance, because I guess they did a live performance at one of the award shows or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And maybe it just... I don't know, maybe it's just because I don't want to harp on the Grammys too much because I understand that we've talked about it before that
the awards
they've kind of lost their relevance probably a long time ago.
And I think the Grammys probably were the first ones to truly start losing their relevance.
But unfortunately, I think it's and we had a whole episode about how talking about whether rock and roll is dead,
right?
And rock and roll isn't dead. But because of the music industry, it's getting harder and harder to find it.
Right. Well, and that's what I was going to say because it's there. Even some of the bigger name, like online magazines. I don't know who owns them. I just know that they're the bigger ones, like Loudwire.
Yeah.
And Classic Rock, which actually is a publication. Still does interviews with older bands that are legitimate. They're not this new thing. They're interviewing Ian Anderson for fuck's sake. They're not on Alice Cooper.
They're not on the cover.
Some of these artists are.
Are they?
Well, not the Classic Rock, obviously.
Well, that obviously would be, but
no, but they're getting they're popping up in headlines on Google searches and stuff like that through their websites. An interview with Alice Cooper, which he's probably a bad example because he's kind of transcended some of that. But, interviews with fucking...
I don't think you can really look at some of those classic rock artists like you do artists today, though.
Because it's a very different world.
I look at it this way. If a band like... What are you opening up there, Ian? Your cough drop?
Yeah, cough drop.
Great. We're going to have to listen to that for the next,
Did you hear...
35 minutes. A little bit.
Well, there you go. You'll hear it a little bit.
But anyway.
I won't make it too loud.
You take a band like Pink Floyd. Mm-hmm. They would never succeed today.
No, God, no. Well, first of all...
Dark Side of the Moon was their 8th album. Is any record company going to give you 8 albums to reach.
No, and it's funny because that we're going to be doing a Pink Floyd episode. That was actually going to be today, but we moved it up a month.
Back a month?
Or back a month, yes. Yeah. And as part of my research, I watched a documentary about that. And even going 8 albums back in the 70s was a little unheard of.
Well, see, it wasn't really 8 albums, though, because...
Or whatever the albums were. It was the stretch of albums.
Dark Side was their 8th album, but you figure...
Most bands wouldn't have made it to Dark Side. They would have been cut, 2 or 3 albums before that.
I don't know, because at least...
But they would have been given more of a chance.
Not back then, because Piper of the Gates Dawn did pretty well.
It's still, from what that documentary said, it was very underground.
I watched the documentary, and some of the
one that you're talking about, the one I saw?
the one you watched.
Okay.
And first off, some of the stuff, at least from the way I understand it, they got wrong.
Okay.
But Piper charted pretty decently, especially the two singles that were released before the album came out.
Right.
One of them wasn't even on the UK version.
Right. It was Alan something.
See Emily Play wasn't even on the UK. If you wanted to hear that, it was on the US version, not the UK version. And then Saucer did okay. Saucer Full of Secrets, and then they kind of fell off. Right. And Adam Hart Mother because Ummagumma and More they are what they are, but whatever. And then Adam Hart Mother they kind of started coming back a little bit more popular. Metal was a really popular album.
Right.
Obscured by Clouds, and they were all released within a year, sometimes 8 months from each other.
Right. Well, a lot of music was released a lot that fast back then. You get 2 albums in a year from some artists because of that.
But Obscured by Clouds was a soundtrack, and then you had Dark Side of the Moon. But today, even if you had a relatively somewhat successful debut album, like the Piper of the Gates of Dawn, you wouldn't get that far. They might have got to Ummagumma. They might have got to Adam Hart Mother. They would have lost their contract after that.
Well, even if say that, obviously Dark Side is a lofty example because very few artists are going to hit Dark Side of the Moon.
Well, yeah.
Level. But say popular,
I would say relatively no one will ever reach that level again.
But say,
because albums aren't really sold like that.
But say they have a huge hit, big hit, maybe even a Grammy winner. And this has been true, I think, even going back to say the late 90s. But they have this, a band comes out and a big hit, huge debut album, win album of the year or new artist of the year, whatever. And then their next album you hear about it. It's like, oh wow, they're coming out with a new album. Then you never hear about them again.
Yeah.
But they're still putting music out. But they just don't hear about it.
Yeah, because the next album wasn't popular enough.
And they never will be.
For the record company to put money behind them.
Right.
I couldn't tell you how many times there's been... Look, MXPX released an album in 2003, I think it was. Before and Everything After, I think is what it was called. Something along those lines. One of their best albums. It's a fantastic album. It was released by a major label. The major label was going through rough times at that point. Didn't put any money behind the album, so it didn't get promoted.
Right.
I don't even think they toured for the album, and they ended up losing their contract after that.
Right.
Which was really unfortunate because that was a really good, probably their best album.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's face it, rock music specifically.
Pacifically?
I said it right.
I know you did. I'm just fucking with you.
Is not a bankable music genre anymore.
I think it could be.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree. Greta Van Fleet proved that.
Yeah.
But how many more albums before they're in that just they're doing their thing and no one really knows about it except for the fans?
Well, because it's been what? It's been a 14 year or 15 months since their last album came out,
which was technically their first album. Their first full-length album. But they were writing... See, they were kind of an anomaly, too. They were writing success on singles, on EPs.
It was a double EP, but...
Right, but they were running on... Their success was running on EPs.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened in decades.
No.
Like that.
I think Greta Van Fleet's kind of a...
Like I said, they were an anomaly.
Yeah.
So...
And we'll see what their next album
I don't think
like.
they're that anomalous activity is going to continue. I really don't.
Probably not.
It will for us because we like them. We like their music. We're going to buy their music, and I think they're a band I wouldn't mind seeing live at least once.
Yeah, I definitely will. I want to see them when they go on tour.
So we'll be familiar with what's going on. We'll know what's going on with them.
There won't be that big hit that
their next album will be successful, at least in terms of getting a radio play and.
But what will they do after that?
After that, I can't see them going much further. Yeah. And let's face it, that's the fate of any popular band.
And it's unfortunate because...
But I think it happens a lot sooner now.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess.
You know.
And the other thing is a lot of artists aren't making albums anymore.
Well, yeah.
It's a lot easier.
I think some are going back to that, but you're right.
Yeah. It's a lot easier just to crank out a couple of songs over a 5 day, week and a half period.
Well, and even older artists with some of their back catalog, when Thick as a Brick was released in 1972, it's one song, but it's on two sides of a record.
Yeah.
When it was released on CD, they kept the two-side thing. So you had technically Thick as a Brick side 1, Thick as a Brick side 2. When they re-released it for the 40th anniversary, they released it in tracks for the iTunes listener.
Yeah.
And it was broken in a way where you could, if you only like part of the album, you can buy those tracks. But that was done intentionally because...
Which is a fucking stupid
I agree, but it's done that way because that's how consumers consume music now. Or at least were in 2012. Yeah. It may not be done that way if it came out now.
Because they were afraid that no one is going to buy a track for $4.99.
Right. Even if it's two tracks.
Well, no, because an album is normally $10 on iTunes. So it's $4.99 for side A and side B.
Right.
But they can break it up and sell it differently.
Right.
Plus, if you're getting X amount of fractions of a penny per play, why would you want 2 plays when listening to the same amount of music you can get 10 plays?
Right. Fair enough.
You know?
But that's what my point is that's where the industry's gone. And it's not, you can't blame the artist. You can't arguably even blame the record labels, companies.
I think you can blame the record companies.
Well, you can blame the record companies in the sense that they've kind of moved the industry in that direction. They've moved the way music is consumed in that direction. They created the record industry created the Napster problem of the late 90s. They created their own problem. Mm-hmm. They made their shit too goddamn expensive, and they made it in a way where there was albums coming out because everything was still doing by albums, but it would have one good song on it.
Yeah.
And it's being played on the radio. Everyone wants it, but they don't want to buy a fucking album to get it.
No.
You know, you go back to the 70s and 80s, sure, there was albums that had 1 or 2 hits on it, but generally speaking, the better stuff was the stuff you didn't hear on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
So you buy an album for Stairway to Heaven, and you get When the Levee Breaks.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Which I just listened to a couple days ago. But.
So yeah, but I mean that's why you buy Paranoid. Yeah, you're buying it for War Pigs, or Iron Man or Paranoid, but you're getting Electric Funeral,
which is another fantastic song.
Exactly. So that wasn't the case. You bought an album for like one song, and you listen to the other songs. You're like, this fucking thing's fucking crap.
I think another problem is though the way or the lack of payment by record companies to artists force them to be on the road for way too long.
Yeah.
And so they're not in the studio. You know, like we were just talking earlier, you know, Pink Floyd, a lot of those artists in the late 60s through the early to mid 70s, an album every year.
Yeah, but they were still touring 10 months out of the year too.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of artists, all of them, I don't know about Pink Floyd because they didn't tour like they were kind of.
Oh yeah, they did.
Did they tour a lot?
Yeah.
Didn't seem like that. They. But anyway, Tull was on the road at least 10 months out of the year, and they had an album out every year. But they recorded on the road. But Alice Cooper recorded on the road. Black Sabbath recorded on the road.
But is there a difference between touring in the 70s to touring today?
No, because a lot of times they would do 2 shows a night back then. A lot of those artists would do 2 shows a night, and they were doing at least 5 shows a week.
But yeah, so they're doing 5 shows a week. Are the artists nowadays doing?
No, that's the thing.
6 or 7?
No, they're doing less.
Because it seems like they're doing like a show every fucking night.
Well, it depends on the artist and what they're selling, what kind of venues they're selling too.
Yeah,
you know, if you Adele,
because even if you're doing shows 5 days a week, that's still not leaving a lot of time to write music.
No, it's not.
But the thing is,
but back then they would write it in the hotel rooms.
But here, see, that's what I was going to get to, was when Pink Floyd started writing Dark Side of the Moon. The album's original title was Eclipse, was the original premise of it. Mm-hmm. They were actually writing that, and during the tour that followed Metal,
right,
they were actually playing those songs,
working the songs out on stage
during concerts.
Yeah,
they're actually playing those pieces that would eventually become Dark Side of the Moon,
right.
Which, by the way, was on Billboard's top 50 for last year, so it's still fucking charting.
Right. Well, it doesn't surprise me.
50 years later.
Artists today, they're probably, like I was starting to say, it depends on the venue. Adele or even Post Malone, for example, might do 3 shows a week, maybe 4. Whereas an artist like, I don't know, like Greta Van Fleet, they might have to do 5 shows a week to get the same volume of money, because that's where they're getting their money.
Yeah.
But it was the same back in the day. It's just that they got a bigger percentage of the record money too.
So
they were getting some money from their record sales.
Because you don't get shit from it.
They get nothing from it now, pretty much. Like you said, pennies on the dollar.
It's fractions of
pennies on the dollar.
And actually, the fractions of a penny is what goes to the record company. So you're getting even less than that.
Right. So, but back then they would get a little cut of the album, and then they would make their money on the road. But they were contractually obligated to go on the road to promote the album.
Yeah.
So it was kind of it was a double thing. It was a double. They were promoting the records.
Yeah, they were making money on both sides.
On both sides.
Where now you're not.
Right.
You're making your money touring. You're not.
That's all they're
being in the studio is doing nothing but costing you money nowadays.
Right. Unless you build your own studio, and even then, if you're in the studio, you're not on the road.
Yeah.
So, but again, a lot of these artists, I still don't understand. You see their touring schedule, and it's even artists who at one point were more prolific with their output.
Yeah.
And you see they're touring for 6 months out of the year, and they still only put out an album every 3-4 years.
It doesn't make any damn sense.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like, how are you staying relevant?
Why does it take that long to write an album?
It doesn't.
Some
of the best albums.
I wouldn't say that. How about it shouldn't?
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't take that long.
Right. Because some of the best albums in history, or at least the history of rock and roll, for example, because that's what I know.
The Doors' first album was recorded in like a week.
Right. Thick as a Brick was recorded in 8 days.
Yeah.
8 fucking days.
That was one song, but
true, but it was one song, but multiple parts.
Yes.
But it was recorded almost entirely live in terms of length. It was front to back.
Yes.
Several other albums. Black Sabbath's first album was recorded in 7 days.
Yeah. There's not. Yeah. I think maybe that's the other thing. Maybe it's just gotten to the point where everything is so overproduced.
Maybe, but I don't. You would think that with technology being what it is, there should be a flux of new music, just brand new stuff from just everywhere. Because
there is,
but I mean, more accessible. I mean, you're right. It's there,
and it's more accessible with things like SoundCloud and things like that. It's definitely not going to be getting pushed by any kind of record company.
No, because it's going to have to be independently produced and released.
But you know what? Even like the independent label stuff I've listened to the last couple of years, it's kind of declined. The same homogenized bullshit.
But see, you have to think about it. Look at who the influences of Eddie Vedder and Kurt Cobain and Adam Duritz. Look at who their influences were. Okay. And they went on to influence others, but look at who these independent artists are being influenced by. If you got a kid or a group of kids who are, say, 18, 19, 20 right now, and they're self-producing their music, they're recording in their fucking basement or their garage or whatever, but on fairly reliable equipment, and they're getting it out there, but like I said, they're 20 at best. What do you think their influences are?
Panic at the Disco.
And that might even be saying
Fun.
More.
Yeah.
More than, no, their influences are fucking, it's garbage. They that's what they're...
Nickelback. I hope not.
Well, right, but if you get a rock band that's in that age range, unless they're the exception, like a Greta Van Fleet who had like Led Zeppelin thrown at them.
Yeah.
These guys are, Nickelback is rock and roll to them.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's not. But that's what they were rated. Oh my God, this is what rock and roll is.
And that's why I think Mandy and I have tried to do, dude, you're killing me with the
I can't even hear it. I can hear it in my head because I'm chewing on it. But
I can definitely hear it.
I'm a cruncher. I'm sorry, but I did try to wait until it was really tiny before I crunched it.
Yeah, Mandy and I have tried to make a concerted effort to expose our children to the widest selection of music we possibly can.
Right. Yeah, well, because you could both come at it from very different angles.
Oh, of course.
You know, she's gonna bring the pop to it, and you're gonna bring some of the more eclectic, unique stuff to it.
Everything else.
Well, right. I mean, there's still genres that you're not exposing them to, I'm sure, or subgenres, we'll say.
I would say the only thing I really don't listen to, I don't listen to country music.
Right.
Because I think country music, for the most part, even though I do like some country music, and I have a couple, I think I have 3 country records. The rest
isn't really country, though? Is it just like
Chris Stapleton's country, but I've got
rock with a country twang, though.
Whatever, but it's still country music,
and it's not even good rock.
Country music, for the most part, is fucking trash, man.
Yeah, I like old country, like bluegrass, almost borderline bluegrass country.
But I don't listen to country. I don't listen to bluegrass. I don't listen to blues, even though blues is good.
I'm more of a blues guy. You're a jazz guy.
I love jazz.
Yeah, you're a jazz guy. I like jazz too. It's kind of like the reverse. I love blues. I like jazz. You like blues, but love jazz.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, outside of, I listen to rap music. Yeah. I listen to rock, all sorts of different kinds of rock, punk. You know, lots of different things. It just, and I try to expose my children to as much of that as I possibly can.
But ultimately, they're going to be more influenced by what their friends are listening to.
True. And my daughter likes Panic at the Disco.
Yes.
And my oldest likes Fall Out Boy, which I like Fall Out Boy too.
Yeah, there's a couple songs I've heard that are all right. I can't get into Panic at the Disco.
No,
but then you like My Chemical Romance. I can't really get into them either. I've tried a couple times. I just can't.
The Black Parade's a fantastic,
and that's
album.
the album I go to. It's not speaking to me. I don't think. It's not catching me. But I say the same thing about several Pink Floyd albums.
Yeah,
and kind of Pink Floyd in general. They have good songs and good records, and a lot of their songs do, but the vast majority of it, not so much. So, in fact, I actually was listening to Piper yesterday.
It's an interesting album.
It is, but it's one that when I was younger, I used to listen to it a lot.
Yeah,
but I don't. I'm listening to it now as more of an adult, I guess. I was probably in my late teens, early 20s when I would listen to it a bit more. But that's half a lifetime ago for me, and I'm listening to it now. I'm thinking, this isn't. I don't know. It's not. I get it. I do get it. I get what they're doing, and I see it, and I see it for what it is. But it's just not grabbing me anymore.
Yeah,
and that's saying a lot for Piper, because, like I said, that's other than The Wall. That's the album I would listen to a lot. Yeah,
there's a couple, like Interstellar Overdrive is a good song. I mean, outside of that, Lucifer Sam,
that
is okay.
That was good.
Bike is weird, but it's an interesting song.
What's the first song on the album?
Astronomy Domain.
Yeah,
that's a great song.
That's a good one.
That's one that they've always played in concert.
Yeah, and that's one that I would say is probably the one that was even younger. That's listening to it yesterday. I was like, oh yeah, it was catching me a little bit. But then as the album went on, it's just like, oh man, I just got to change it.
Yeah, I think Saucerful of Secrets is probably a better album. I think you would like Saucerful of Secrets better than.
Well, I'm going to go through because we're going to do the Pink Floyd show. I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to listen to every album, only the studio albums.
Yeah,
and even when I get to like what's the one that has like a live part to it?
Amagama.
Yeah, I'm not going to listen to live stuff. I'm just going to listen to this.
You can probably skip over Amagama because
I'm going to give it a listen because
the live side of it is way better than the studio side of it.
All right, but I mean it's all like previously heard songs, though. It's not like live new songs.
No.
Okay.
No. It's like a live concert.
Okay.
And then the 4 songs on the studio side of it, they each one of them did their own song.
Right.
So it's
I'll still give it a listen, but it's only, like I said, only the studio stuff. Because ultimately, there's like, and I've said this before, there's albums that I want to re-examine.
Yeah.
Momentary Lapse, Reason, Division Belt being the 2 main. And I've never listened to anything off the Final Cut. Ever in my life.
The Final Cut's interesting. The Final Cut was actually the idea. I don't know. It's the whole premise behind the Final Cut is the Falklands War.
Well, okay, yeah.
So it's got a much more political side to it, but it doesn't really come off. Yeah. I think it's like they really wanted it.
Well, yeah, we'll get into it.
We'll talk about all that next month,
right? But it's just really just using that as an example, and and there's music that I liked when I was a kid that I just like that it doesn't really speak to me anymore. Equally, there's songs and artists that never grabbed me as a kid that now I listen to. I'm like, what the fuck was wrong with me? What was I missing back then?
And I don't want to talk about him too much, but that's how I feel about Pink Floyd.
Right.
Because I was a fan. I mean, I liked him when I was younger. Nowhere near what I like now, but because I think I understand it better. I understand and I feel like a lot of that. There's a lot of different music like that, where now I understand as an adult what I understand the message that they were trying to convey through their music.
Right.
And as a kid, it's just music.
Right. Well, I think you and I, maybe were a little bit more serious about it, even as kids.
Yeah.
But, there's only so much even a young teenager can apply intellectually to stuff, because we're learning, we're still developing. So we might be able to attach ourselves to the emotional aspect of music, but we might not be able to truly appreciate the intellectual side of it.
Yeah, I get it.
And maybe vice versa as we get older too. It's hard to say, but we might over intellectualize some of the stuff. I know I do. I think I always have, but I think my understanding of it's better now. But what I was going to say too, real quick, was when you think about this, what we're talking about here, we're talking about a lot of stuff, a lot of albums that were released and recorded no less than 5 or 6 years before either one of us was born.
Yeah.
Music that our parents would have been listening to. And then in some cases even older. So we were exposed to music that was older than us. Take Billie Eilish, for example. Now, this is not a sin. People went ape shit when she said this, and it's not the ultimate sin. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But as for someone who claims to love music, as she does, not even being aware of the name Van Halen, is a little disturbing. Because, who is your influence then? Yeah,
Post Malone not knowing who Ozzy was.
Right. Now, give him credit for making up for that, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't know whose idea. I was under the impression it was Post Malone's idea to have Ozzy on the song. But you're right. Initially, he didn't know who Ozzy was. So that worries me. When you and I say we love music, I know I'm slightly more narrow-minded than you, but at least I can apply that statement to a very broad range of artists, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily genres, but artists for sure. And you as well. I mean, maybe even more so. When you hear someone who's like I said, who's in the business, who claims to be their whole life revolves around music, and that's what she said. She said her music is what's kept her alive, and you aren't even aware of the name.
Yes, that's an issue.
That's an issue to me, because that means music is not your thing. You know this much of music when there's a lot more ocean of music. Yes. That's that. I guess that's where it's going, and
it's something not far enough outside her genre that she should,
or at least the genre she's attempting to be in. I don't know if it really is, but
I know. So we've been known to dabble in conspiracy theories on this show.
Yes.
And there's one that was kind of the other inspiration for the topic. And it's an article from, I don't know how I never saw this because it came out, it was April of 2012.
Okay.
The title of the article is, or the title of the email that was sent out, the secret, or at least the article I pulled this from, because I guess that's true, because I'm pulling this from a website. So it's the title that they gave on the website, The Secret Meeting That Changed Rap Music and Destroyed a Generation.
Okay.
So basically what this guy said was he was a music executive in the late 80s through the early to mid 90s.
Right. Which would be the beginning to the height of rap and hip hop as a mainstream music form.
Rap
specifically. Yeah.
Okay, so let me get to that. So he said in 1991 he was pulled to a private residence in LA with about 30 to 40 other music executives, movers and shakers in the industry, if you want to call them. I don't want to sound too much like a boomer there,
right.
But and he said during this meeting there was a group of well-dressed people that walked in the room that weren't in the music industry. And what it was these were people from the private prison industry. At least that's kind of the way it's told in the story. He said he was so fearful for what the retaliation against him that even when he wrote this email about this meeting, he doesn't give any kind of names or any kind of information that you could use to figure out who anyone is in the
But
story.
arguably, it also makes it very difficult to corroborate the story.
That's very true, because even though the story is, almost 8 years old, there's been no other stories like this that I've found. So anyway, this guy goes into detail about how he's pulled in this residence in LA, and everyone signs these non-disclosure agreements before anything's talked about. Before he knows anything about private prisons. Private prisons was a relatively new thing.
It was just
early
90s, yeah.
In the early 90s. So what he says this meeting is about is these people come in and they're like, look, we need you to take this rap music. Because rap music in early 1991 was still relatively a political movement. You had things like
political or just fun. There were fun elements,
exactly,
like Run DMC, Fat Boys, that kind of thing.
But political, you had like Public Enemy was out there. Okay. That was a big thing then. Yeah, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince,
which was the fun side.
Yeah, it was either or. That's kind of what the rap genre was. But he said, look, so you've got these people that own your record company, that are heavily invested in your record company, and this is also an opportunity for you guys to invest in the private prison industry. He's like, look, the people that are running, that making the decisions are already invested. What we want you guys to do is create tenants for our prisons. Right. Because the part of the story that's not made up is the fact that private prisons require the state that they have the contract with to keep the prison at 90% capacity. All the private prisons I know of, and I've actually dealt with 3 private prisons in the South where I know that this is a fact, at least with those. So I'm assuming it's across the board. Right.
Where theoretically criminal justice should be to reduce.
Yes.
All across the board. So yeah, just as a point of
he said he didn't make it very far in this meeting before him and another gentleman started asking questions and were removed from the house by gunpoint. Yeah. So he said, look, so that's kind of where it all kind of nosedived. And he said the music industry, these music labels, started taking these artists out of Compton, out of South Central LA, places where they knew there was high crime levels, and they started heavily promoting this more aggressive,
what would eventually became gangster rap.
Yes.
Glorifying the
as
gang
a way
lifestyle.
To glorify and influence other young, poor,
African-American
disenfranchised African-American males to sell drugs, to shoot, to do whatever you had to do.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because if you think about this, what year was it that George Bush, president at the time, senior, came out against that hip hop era? I mean, he came out strong against it.
Somewhere around the same time.
It was 90. I think it was 91 because he was.
It might have been
because he was up for re-election in 92.
Yeah,
and it was in the middle of his presidency. So that would have been pushing the, what was it, body count and. Really, would NWA? Yeah,
but NWA was out before that.
They were, and way before that actually, because Easy and all that. I think he was already dead by then, wasn't he?
No.
When did he die?
It was early 90s.
Okay, so yeah, but I mean that makes sense because look at what came after that, though. I mean, with the exception
NWA was 87 and 91.
Okay, right. With the exception of, I mean, there was gangster rap elements to it, but I think it was more.
There was still kind of
more poetic. I'm talking like Tupac. I mean
I wasn't even saying with NWA there was obviously a gangster element to it,
right?
But there was also a clowning kind of fun side to it also,
right? Because very sexual side to it. A lot of their overly sexual songs. But I mean, I don't know the rap genre as well as you do. Very little at all, actually. I can only go by what I remember being popular and how it was popular. But yeah, when did Tupac come out? Because Tupac
mid 90s.
Mid 90s, because he died in 97, right?
Yeah.
He was shot in 97.
So it was early 90s,
early
92,
90s.
93,
Okay.
probably somewhere around there.
But I was going to say, and I was even going to point out that he had that gangster side to him, but it was also, he would have, I think, been the exception. I think he would have been the one that kind of slipped through as a true poet or true artist.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
And he did kind of transcend some of the stuff he did, but it wasn't necessarily the fact that it's not like this meeting, at least from this story, it's not like this meeting was going out and creating something. It was taking something that already existed,
yeah,
something that wasn't palatable to mass audiences. Mm-hmm. It wasn't palatable to record companies, and they said, "Look, regardless of that, we want you to go out there and we want you to put your money behind it, push this out in the mainstream, play it more, play it on your radio stations, put it in your magazines, promote the hell out of it, make it popular, and let's see what happens."
Right. Well, and that was the height of that genre. 91 to say the end of the decade, maybe.
Yeah.
Was the height of hip hop rap and gangster rap.
That 10-year period, yeah.
Yeah. Huh. It's an interesting thing.
It's obviously a big conspiracy because there's nothing really that's been verified.
Well, conspiracies can be. You could say something's a conspiracy with some verification. You can say it if you have all the facts. It was a conspiracy on their part to do that.
It's a conspiracy theory.
Theory. That's the
yes.
Well, and even that's kind of a misnomer. You want to say conspiracy hypothesis would be a better episode.
Whatever.
But
now you're splitting hairs again.
Yeah, I am. But there is, I guess, a way you could start to analyze and evaluate these statements, though, because you'd have to look and see gang activity would have had to increase exponentially from, say, 1991, 92 to the end of the decade. Would have had to. And I'm not talking about gang violence. I'm talking about size of gangs.
If it
number
did,
of
even
gangs.
if it did, it doesn't it doesn't prove anything.
It doesn't. But I said that's a good starting point because then you can look and see if there was a return on that suggestion, on that idea.
But you can. I think it's undeniable you can see the influence not necessarily in inner cities, but the influence that rap music in the 90s had on even white suburban neighborhoods.
Right. Yeah, no, that's very true. Well, I'm thinking because what we know of as rap kind of started in the inner city, though, didn't it? In New York, wasn't New York kind of the birthplace of rap?
Yeah.
As far
as I understand it.
Yeah. And I mean, that was back when New York was riddled with crime. So theoretically, if they hadn't pushed it, it probably still would have been the music of the street.
It always has been, but would have had the influence that it had.
Definitely not on the white suburban kids, the way it did. But I guess they don't really. We can see, and it is obvious that there's a racial element to our justice system. But if you're a private prison, you don't care if the butt in that cell is white or black. You don't. Yeah. So, and I'm sure,
But they do know that there's
a far larger number of black butts than there are white butts.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, a far larger number of black ones, Hispanic ones.
Yeah.
There's a number of them before they hit to the number of white ones.
But anyway, that's kind of. I thought that was interesting. Maybe that's a.
It is.
You're awfully coughy over there.
Yeah, I've got this weird sinus thing going on. I don't know. My nose has been running. I'm not sick.
You're making it really difficult to be able to edit this show.
Well, hey, you know what? Life. I got to make life a little difficult for you.
I guess you're rotten bastard.
Sometimes I can't just be here to annoy you. I have to annoy you. When I'm not here, it's
even at 3:00 in the morning.
Yes, I have to leave. I have to leave
this damn show.
I have to leave an annoying ghost around. How's that? I'm sorry, but you've had issues in the past with your sinuses too. So, but you have to edit your own shit. So I guess that's fair.
I know how to cough.
I know how to cough too. I cough when my body makes me cough,
and then pause, so I can edit it out. And then I keep talking.
Well, I'm not the one editing it, so I don't know how to do that. I just cough and sniffle and sneeze and
say
and crunch and suck on my candies and my cough drops and stuff. And yeah, you know what? You can always make me edit it. I'll do it if you want me to. But
that's I think it's a good way to kind of leave it. I guess
it is fascinating.
The conspiracy kind of side of it is. Like I said, there's nothing that's been verified of the guy's story, and the story's been out there for
smoke
8 years.
I would say there's you can honestly say right. You can honestly say there's a little bit of smoke there. Yeah. Whether or not there's fire, it's hard to say.
Yeah. Well, anyway, anything else to add to it?
No, other than music fucking sucks these days.
I wouldn't say music sucks. I would say mainstream music sucks.
Well, pop music is garbage.
I wouldn't even say pop music. Like I said, I would kind of list it as mainstream because there's a lot of really good music out there. You just gotta find it.
You gotta look hard for it.
You gotta look hard for it.
No, you're right. You're right. Well, I mean, it's now I wouldn't even classify them as new really at this point because they've been around since 2006. But Raconteurs, their new album just came out. Best album of 2019, in my opinion.
Yeah, I got 0 Grammy nominees.
Well, and to be fair, that's just my personal opinion. I haven't listened to a lot of, other stuff. But as far as albums that I bought and that came out in 2019, it was the best of the year for me. So,
but I was trying to look and see what. I wanted to look and see real quick before we end the show. Who the rock nominees were?
Do they even show the rock nominees on TV anymore, or is that like a off the air award?
I think it's kind of like off the air now.
Yeah, so that's.
Let's see, album of the year.
And it's only 30 years ago that they even started introducing a rock category.
I know. Best new artist, pop solo, pop duo, best traditional pop vocal.
I don't know what the fuck that means.
I don't know. Best pop vocal album. Best dance recording, best dance/electronic album.
That's not even fucking music.
Best contemporary instrumental album.
Well, that's fair, but that's definitely not getting shown on TV.
Best rock performance.
I don't understand what that means. Is that best performance in a concert setting, or is that best performance on an album? Because it's all recording, right?
No, this says for new vocal or instrumental solo, duo/group or collaborative rock recordings.
Huh. Okay.
I've never heard of anyone.
Any one of those ones in that list?
Bones UK. Gary Clark Jr.
No.
Brittany Howard.
No.
Karen O and Danger Mouse.
I've heard of Danger Mouse.
Well, Rival Sons. Oh, here you go. Best metal performance. Candlemass. Featuring Tony Iommi. I know what Tony Iommi is.
And I know Candlemass is.
Death Angel, I Prevail, Kill Switch Engage, which I've heard of them, and Tool. Here's best rock song. Here you go.
I'm gonna say the most. When you're done with that, I'm gonna say the most sexist thing ever.
Actually, here's a couple of rock albums, rock categories. Best rock song, Fear Inoculum by Tool.
Okay, that's good. I can dig that.
Give yourself.
It is a good album.
Yeah, Give Yourself a Try by the 1975, which I've never listened to it. I have listened to some of their music. I don't know if it was from their newest album or not, because I heard of them. But Harmony Hall by Vampire Weekend, never heard of them.
They're like a Panic at the Disco type band.
Yeah, I kind of figured from the title.
Yeah.
And then History Repeats by Brittany Howard.
I don't know who Brittany Howard is. That Bones UK group, it's a duo, I'm assuming. It's 2 chicks. I'm not really sold on chick artists. I mean, chick singers.
I have seen
those 2 chicks.
Those 2, yeah. I've seen a picture of them.
I'd have to. I mean, I'll give them a good listen, just because I want to be fair about everything. But
here's the category for best rock album.
Okay.
Wait, is this Bring Me the Horizon
by?
That's the name of the artist.
Band names suck these days too.
Cage the Elephant.
Who comes up with this shit?
I Prevail, Rival Sons, and then the Cranberries. Obviously, I know who the Cranberries are.
Right. What are they up for? I thought wasn't Shirley Manson dead?
In the End. I think it's the album that they just released.
Was it recorded before she died?
It must have been. Best alternative music album. Big Thief, never heard of you.
Oh.
James Blake, Bon Iver, Vampire Weekend, and Tom York, which I know who Tom York is.
Yeah. For solo work or for Suspiria stuff?
For solo work.
Okay. I mean, Suspiria was solo too, but I thought he released a single or 2 off of that soundtrack.
But anyway, that's your rock categories.
Yeah, not really. I don't know. Bon Iver. Bon Iver's been around for several years, but I've never considered them. I don't even know who they are. Yeah. I've never listened to them, but I think I looked at a picture of them once and I was like, "That's not rock." But what do I know? I just don't want to come off as like an asshole when it comes to my judgments and stuff. Because to be fair, completely honest, I give far more credit and middle ground opinions on things on the show when it comes to music and stuff. Whereas in my head, I'm not really that middle ground on.
I'm very opinionated when it comes to music.
I am too. But in a conversation that is going to be listened to or analyzed by other people, I want some fairness to emanate out from that.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
That being said, because
Ian to be middle road, I will not be. How about that?
Fair enough.
It's like it's role reversal from when we talk politics.
Right.
It's me being the middle road and you being the crazy guy. When it comes to music, I'm the crazy guy.
And hey, believe me, I'm less middle ground on music than you are on politics.
Probably.
You're almost downright complacent in some of your political views.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I would.
But that's a conversation for another day. I'm sure we'll have one eventually.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@lifeandjawpodcast.com. Check us out on Facebook and on Twitter and on YouTube and iTunes and all the other places. Follow us. Leave us a good 5-star review.
6 star, 6 star, 6 star.
And that's about it, man. That's all I got.
That's it.
Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, old lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you some go-ropes, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, the niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that you're sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bro. We taking the dub. Hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the sign. That's some dollar signs. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Know you sick as fuck. Get well soon.
Oh shit. Watch out, you the god, Billy. Oh shit.
bitch with a gold smile. You should probably make placement to your eye. Niggas sick as fuck, standing with niggas who down for that party, who down for some bitches who showing their bodies. Swear to God, nigga, this Molly got me up and rolling. Need bodies of water, bring that shit in bottles. We mosh at the party, they hate when we style.